I did.
Yeah, I posted on IG. I posted on the SNMA IG. I sent it to Mr. Jerry. So,
Nice.
hey, the people that are here, we're rocking with y'all. People that aren't, they can always find it later and benefit if they feel like it. If they don't, it is what it is.
Yeah, and we've got so many questions. That's why with the recording, and since we're on D2L now, like if we want to go ahead and get started, I think that'd be a good idea. Um, so thank you everyone who is here live. Sorry that we couldn't accommodate those of you in person who wanted to come in person, but we're so happy that you tuned in on Teams. You guys all know me, so I won't bore you with those details, but whoever, Antron, I don't know if you kind of want to talk a little bit about the Black Men of MCG or the MCG and kind of give some more information, or whoever wants to speak and give some information about the club.
Remy, might as well jump on it. You're the president.
Let Remy, since he's there.
I'm not about to say, bro. You can't sit there quiet.
Okay, number one, hi guys, my name's Remy Alway. I'm a first year medical student here at MCG. I'm also one of the co-presidents of this organization, Black Men of MCG. And basically what Black Men is looking to do, we're looking to kind of work with our community. We're looking to increase the amount of Black male physicians, and we're also looking to retain the same amount. So we kind of do this by doing educational adventures and even panels like this. And we just want to hear from y'all. We're here for y'all, and we just want y'all to know that if there's any questions that you need answered, we're free to do that. And doing that, I'll let the other guys kind of introduce themselves.
Well, I'm not shy, so I'll go ahead and jump on it. My name's Samir Yassin. I'm a first year here at MCG. I went to Georgia State University where I got a degree in biology. If I was to, I guess it's important to say, or it's not really important to say, but I'll say it. I'm a traditional student. And some things about me, I love basketball. I literally came here right after playing basketball. I'm a big Toronto Raptors fan, a big Atlanta Falcons fan. That's kind of some personal things about me. But yeah, Samir, yes, happy to help. If you ever need me, always feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help.
And I am shy, but I'll go next. Unlike Samir, who's not shy, excuse me. But yes, my name is Claude. What's up, guys? So I'm also a first year medical student here at MCG. I did my undergrad at Columbus State University here in Columbus, Georgia, not Columbus, Ohio. And just some things which I could be resourceful. So I'm a non-traditional student. I spent some time in the military before coming to medical school. So if any of you guys are interested in military medicine, I have questions about that, I can answer some of those. Then I also have a family, a child and a fiance, and yeah, so children. So if you have any questions about that, if you have children and you're like, man, I got children, it's med school for me, I'll be glad to answer those questions for you as well.
All right, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Antron Spooner. I graduated from Cornell. I took a couple gap years, so I'm non-traditional. And so I know a lot of people had questions about taking gap years, how does it affect me? And honestly, I would say taking time off for me, I enjoyed it. I had a break. I did work in a clinical setting because that's definitely still important, but I had more time to sort of realign my values and figure out is this what I want to do? And it definitely has been it's been good in terms of keeping me motivated and focused and stuff. So if you guys have questions on that, definitely reach out too.
And I think I saw Kenneth, are you on? And Sam too.
Yeah, I can go next. Hey guys, my name is Samuel Segnu, and all my friends call me Sam, so feel free to do so. I don't have any kids, so I can't help you there if you have that issue. But I did also take some gap years. Also, actually did a post-bac program, and I took the MCAT. I mean, let's just say more than once. So if you have any questions about I guess hey Claude, don't laugh. But if you have any questions about, I guess the trying to conquer a few more than a few setbacks while trying to get into med school, like trying to stay persistent, then I'm the guy for you. And no matter what, I think anybody on here, if you reach out to us, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have, regardless of what it is. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Kenneth Quay. Just like Claude, have a family. Um, Non-traditional. Took some gap years. Okay, I guess let me back up a little bit. Did my undergrad at Georgia Southern. Did a master's at Duke. Then now at MCG. I think for me, it was more about you have the grades, you have the passion, but is this really for you? So during my gap years and networking, I was able to confirm that, and that's why I applied to MCG. Then I got in and started this journey. Anybody has questions about the MCAT, gap years, juggling family and school, um, networking, because I think that's a big component of med school. Just reach out to me. Besides that, I think I don't have anything much.
All right. So instead of putting all of our pre-med students on the spot and ask them to ask questions now, I'll go ahead and ask some questions that were submitted, and you guys answer as you deem appropriate. And if you feel like it's been discussed enough, we can move on. So can you talk, both times I sent the forms, we got this question. So can you talk about some of the trials and tribulations that you have had to overcome in your pre-med journey?
I guess I can take lead on this one. I didn't quite say it, but I also graduated from Mercer University. I did my degree in biochemistry. Um, one of the earliest trials one of the earliest trials for sure, was my GPA. That very first year of college, I was very immature, still had that like high school mindset. I ended up finishing with a 2.4 first year, and that's just rough. I was on academic probation. My parents were not happy. I can tell you that. But it's very hard to go from 2.4 to like 4.0. It takes a lot of like grit and dedication. And I remember after that first year, I was talking with my advisor, and he basically said, he was like, medicine might not be for you anymore. And I was like, because of 1 year, one mess up, I want to like change my whole career over that 1 year that I just like kind of was acting silly. So no, numbers aren't everything. Obviously, you can flip the switch, and that's what I kind of did. I think I graduated with like a 3.5 in the end. But that was one of my biggest trials during my pre-med journey for sure.
I guess I can add on that. So yeah, I think Remy's point was a good point. Like I know a lot of people are scared that like if they got a bad grade in one class, like, it's over. I think like honestly, the MCAT matters more than your GPA. Just straight up, like if you did a little bit worse in terms of your class, if you show some sort of growth and like at least kill it on the MCAT, show that you actually studied, you still have a great shot. But for me personally, like I think it was hard to find the resources I needed to basically apply to medical school. Like I didn't really know anything about applying. I don't really have doctors in my family, so that was just hard. Like figuring out the process. Like, what do I need to do to get research? What do I need to do to get clinical experience? How do I go about trying to shadow a doctor? And how do I even study for this MCAT? So those were things that I had to pretty much, figure out on my own. And that's why I think this panel right now is really helpful, because I wish I had something like that, to be honest.
One thing I'll add is that one of the hardest things I thought about getting into medical school, or like something that kind of affected me, was like at the end of my sophomore year, I was looking at my application, right? And I was like, I want to go to medical school. I always knew I wanted to go to medical school. But the reality is, when I looked at my application, all I had was just good grades, right? Grades were never an issue, but that's all I had, right? I had nothing at that moment that could speak to who I was as a person, not many things by way of extracurriculars, not many passion projects that I was doing, not many ways I involved myself in the community, right? And that's a trap that can be hard when you're there, because I wanted to apply the following year at the end of my junior year. But the reality is, I can't build up enough experiences that speak to what I'm passionate about and can speak to my character in such a short amount of time, right? So one trial that really affected me was just not, I did the school part, I didn't do the other stuff, right? And I had to take time, I didn't take time off of school, but I had to take more time than I would have liked, trying to put up those things, going to Grady Hospital and begging to allow them to begging them to allow me to volunteer, trying to do a study abroad opportunity, giving myself an intramural basketball, becoming a peer mentor with the Muslim Student Association at Georgia State. I wanted to get or becoming like a lab TA and things like that, things that related to healthcare, things that weren't, just to get some experiences that I could talk about. Because the reality is, when you're going to these interviews, or you're trying to look at medical school, the truth is everybody has good grades. And the truth is everybody has a decent or good MCAT, right? But what really will separate you is the things that you do outside of that. And getting those things to separate myself was something that I found difficulty with. But it's something that there's always time, right? Just don't delay it the way I did, because it might push your plans back a little bit more than you would like.
Awesome. And I just kind of want to give the opportunity, if anybody is feeling brave or has a burning question that they want to ask. But if not, we've got plenty. And so let's talk about, so when you're going through your application, what are some ways that you can distinguish yourself?
That's a great question, and I can speak a little bit to that. So a lot of what Samir spoke a lot to that question already. Like, the main thing that makes you stand out a lot of times is that, like, you need the good grades, and we all have good grades. It's really the things you do outside of school that really set you apart. I think in my case, one thing that probably helped me a lot is the fact that I was proud service at my time in the military, where I was a combat medic. So I had a lot of medical experience with that as well. And it just being in the military gives you a lot of non-medical experiences as well. So that did help me a lot. So really, if you can, by the time you become a sophomore in school, it might be time, if you really want to go to medical school, to start, looking into shadowing or volunteering at a hospital, just wheeling people on a wheelchair from the ER to X-ray or to ultrasound. It sounds really simple, but in the long run, it counts for a lot. It just builds up on that. So really building up on non-school related things, it's huge for sure.
One thing that I know I spoke to it a little bit earlier, but I think it's important to note that when you're trying to look at these other things to build up your application, the reality is these aren't things that have to do with medicine. A lot of the things that all of us are most passionate about have nothing to do with medicine. For example, hopefully Claude doesn't mind me sharing that, but he's a musician, right? He makes music. I play a lot of basketball. Played intramural basketball for like 6 years at this point, right? Remy, I'm sure he has tons of things going on in his life that he's passionate about, and he could tell you about. Antoine has things, Sam has things, Kenneth has things. We all had things that we were doing that might not speak to how we play a role in medicine, but speak to skills that we've acquired that will translate to medicine. For example, with playing intramural basketball, you might say that has nothing to do with medicine, but the reality is that has everything to do with medicine. In medicine, you're working in a team, you're communicating, right? You're having to put yourself and your teammates in the best position to succeed, right? Medicine isn't a sport by any means, but these same skills translate. One interview I had at a medical school, when I got down, we sat down and we talked about basketball for 40 minutes. I didn't talk about my GPA, my MCAT, the research I did, volunteering at a hospital, shadowing, none of that. Just this personal thing that I was doing that I was really passionate about and I could speak to. right? And sometimes when they see you speak to those things and the way you get really excited and the way your eyes kind of bright up, right? Those are what people are kind of looking to hear about. So don't fall in the trap of thinking it just has to be healthcare related. It can be anything as long as you're passionate about it and you've shown some commitment to it.
Yeah, and add to Samir to add a different point. Um, Personally, I think that the things that made my applications stand out though, like was my MCAT score and my clinical experience. Definitely do like what Samir said, like have other extracurriculars that you can speak on because like during the interview, you're gonna they're gonna ask you like, who are you? They just want to know like, are you a person? And if you're just like, oh, I've been studying in the lab, like are you like a robot? Like you got to be a person because that's also important. Like you got to be able to relate to your patients. You got to be able to, use your interpersonal skills to figure out how to best make your patient comfortable and trust you. But on top of that, like I will say that if you do have a good MCAT score or you have really good clinical experience, highlight that too because like I'm pretty sure my clinical experience pretty much shaped my all my secondaries because I worked in a pathology lab at Northside Hospital, and I talked about how, I initially didn't even like the field of pathology, and sitting under the microscope and seeing how the cells can actually manifest into like cancerous cells and how you can use a stain to light that process up. All of that was amazing to me, and like that process of figuring out that I could actually understand that was something that I couldn't really hide. Like it made me think that I genuinely get excited about medicine, and that's also something they want to see. Like, are you passionate about medicine? So once again, I would just say like make sure your resume speaks to that. Like everything you're doing shows how much you want to go into medicine at the end of the day. Like you've put in the time in, you've researched, you've, aligned the pieces together. Even if you have to take a gap year or so, you're still actively working towards that pathway. And that's what they want to see too.
And to piggyback off of what Antron just said, if I understand that like not everybody will have the opportunity to do like really great research or something super interesting. So a lot of things that they're looking for on your application is like how, like Antron said, make sure it shows that you want to go into medicine and you're passionate for it. So if you like dance or you like working with kids or something, if you worked with little kids at like a dance studio or something, right? You can say I strategize coordinated strategic movements. It's for the betterment of the education of younger children. Like it's like a lot of it has to do with how you say what you did. So if you say something like that and it like reminded you of your passion for caring for young minds and their health, like it's about how you relate it back to why you want to be a physician. Right. And the smallest thing can look really great on an application depending on how you talk about it. And then you can end up doing research in a lab that like cured brain cancer or something, or some form of brain cancer. And then you just say, oh, I did this in the lab. I counted cells. I measured this titration or whatever. And it just sounds boring. Even something that amazing can be dwindled by the fact that you didn't really talk it up. So it's all about how you present yourself and your experiences and how they've inspired your drive to want to be a doctor.
And can you speak to your journey and specific challenges of entering medical school while being a Black male?
Don't do it. It's tough. I'm kidding, guys. No, you got it, Charles.
Is this about like applying to medical school or like being currently in medical school, like that journey?
I believe it's referring in this case to pre-med and applying to medical school and the challenges faced in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to making those connections. I think as minorities, we don't have the luxury of having that social capital. So we have to be willing to put ourselves out there and, be more proactive in finding the opportunities that are going to help us get to the next level. And I think sometimes people realize it a little bit later. I know I had to learn that my sophomore year, like Samir was talking about, like in terms of those extracurriculars, like if you want research and you want volunteering experience, you gotta somehow find that. I had classmates that, their dad is a doctor, or like they have a doctor in the family. They can literally just call them up, hey, I need some volunteer experience. Oh, I got you, bro. And then that's it. Like it was simple. But for me, that wasn't, necessarily the case. So.
And to add to what Antron said, I guess me and him are a tag team today. But when I understand, like when you're, especially when you're an undergrad and you might be in a city that I guess is not maybe predominantly Black, or you don't see a lot of people who look like you in medicine, it's very easy for you to feel like you don't have a lot of resources around you. So in that instance, it's very important to realize that, especially in 2021, you have a lot more people backing you than you might think. So, and I understand that it's scary to like reach out there because you're afraid to be rejected. Like somebody might not want you to shadow. They might not be willing to write you a recommendation letter. But what I always tell people is the worst thing they can tell you is no. All right. If somebody says, no, I can't help you, no, you can't shadow here, no, I can't talk to you about this, then that's fine. Move on to somebody else. All right. It's a lot harder to build those relationships if you don't try. And I can tell you from personal experience that like being afraid to do is going to hurt you more than just doing it and being rejected. All right. Because it wasn't until I actually started like trying to, I guess, for in spite of it sounding corny, I guess take that leap, or like reach out that olive branch or whatever you want to call it, to actually try to make those connections. Like I say, take it step by step, little by little, whatever you can. Like just pick a week and just email somebody if you want to try to shadow, and that's all it takes. There's more people out there who are willing to help you than you think. All right, and you can start off at your school, go to whoever your medical pre-med advisor is, whoever your pre-health advisor is. I don't know if your school has a minority help office or something like that. There's a lot more resources out there than you think. And if you can't find one at your school, hit up Google. Start from there. Start anywhere, and I promise you, you're gonna find more people who are gonna back you than you think.
I'm going to ask another question, and then I'm going to kind of force our undergrads to ask a question. So start thinking now. Can you talk about balancing school workload?
As in balancing like the school workload in medical school, just to make sure that I'm on the same page. Oh, okay, that's easy. The reality is, and everyone will balance their school life balance differently, because we all have different situations. Like my school life balance will be very different than Claude's school life balance, because he has a family. I have me, and I can't even take care of myself, right? He has to take care of other people that are dependent on him, right? So I'll just speak to the way I do it. The reality is, especially in medical school, you have a lot of things to do, but it's not to the level in which it fully inhibits you from exploring all the things that you would want to do, right? Especially the way med school is at MCG, is Monday's a pretty lax day for us, right? But Tuesday through Thursday is pretty busy in terms of lecture content. Friday we have a quiz, but Friday afternoon from Sunday, you really don't have any responsibilities. You don't have to you can pre-read and pre-study if you want, but it's not mandatory. The way the pace of our curriculum is set up is there is a lot of time for you to kind of relax and do what you need to do. And also, some of it is just making time for yourself. Like, to be honest, I won't lie to you guys. This week, I really didn't want to study all the glomerular nephropathies or all the kidney stuff, right? And the truth is, the only thing that I have to prepare for is the quiz at the end of the week and then a module exam at the end of the module, right? Which might be three months. It might like span 3 months. Sometimes if life gets busy and you take an L on a quiz for that week, the quiz is worth less than 1% of your total grade. And when you're pass fail, you really end up with more time than what you expect. And then it just ends up going like, for example, most nights I end up with maybe 3-4 hours where I'm not studying and I'm not doing anything. Right. And I do really well. I'm a pretty good student. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything. Actually, I do kind of do want to toot my own. Oh, I'm muting myself. But there's time, right? It's just how do you want to utilize it? Some people utilize more of it to get ahead. Some people utilize more of it to kind of relax and do what you want to do. I'm one of those people that utilizes it to relax and do what you want to do. And honestly, I feel like my school life balance is kind of right where I want it to be. I do well. I'm focused. I do what I need to do. But I have time to mess with these dummies, right? Or to not mess with these dummies and chill at home and be antisocial or go party. There's a lot more time than what you would expect in medical school. It's a time commitment for sure. You're going to be busy, but you're not busy all the time.
Yeah, I will take a completely different perspective from Smears with him saying it's completely easy. I'd say it's a tough it's a tough balance trying to like usually like just like Smears said. So the tough thing for me is trying to balance out things at home with things at school, which yeah, it might seem a little bit abstract if you are not in that situation, but it is still very doable. As you can, like, I spend most of my days with Sam and Remy in school, studying all day, right? And I have a whole family back at home. So in my case, I'd say that what makes it work for me is just the support which I get from my fiance back at home because I can be in school for 12 hours knowing that everything is going well back at home. And then when I am at home, I try to, be there, be there. Usually on Friday evenings it's like family time. So you guys should feel pretty special that I'm out here spending time with y'all. But it's really about trying to balance whatever you have going on. It's like a lot of my classmates, they don't have families, but you still have other things going on. So if you can find that balance, put things down on your calendar and stick with it from this time to this time, it's schoolwork. From this time, it's family, whatever it is. I think that's the best thing that has worked so far for me.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. I feel honored to be in Claude's presence right now. But what I wanted to say is that honestly, time balance, it's kind of like a weird thing. I mean, everyone around you is basically doing like on the same schedule. So like in terms of work-life balance, like you just know, like you wake up, I got 3 lectures to study today. However you want to approach that, everyone's gonna have a different, way of doing it. But for me, I don't go to lecture. I just 2x the lectures, and I just read the PowerPoint slides. I used to make these things called Ankis, which are like flashcards, but then I realized that's just a waste of time. And used to handwrite notes. That's also a waste of time. Like, I just want to basically expose myself to the material, look over it, make sure I understand it, and then move on with the other things I like, other responsibilities I have to do. And you'll learn that as you go through medical school. Like, it's amazing how much you actually retain. You might, I'm pretty sure like there's weeks where I just started studying on Wednesday or Thursday, and I did better on that quiz than like other weeks where I just studied the whole week and planned it out because I actually focused on like what was important. And like you'll start understanding that as you go too. Like, you'll have a lot of lectures where you have a lot of extra information, all this like fluff, and then like I guess like they want us to learn what's pertinent to like, you know, our clinical education. I mean, that's the hope. I don't know, because sometimes they just like, today's quiz, they just throw out random questions and you're like, what the heck? But yeah, just, plan everything out like Claude said. Don't, you're not gonna be a workaholic. Like you're still gonna be a person like Samir. I'm pretty sure Samir is always up to no good when I see him. So you know? It'll be easy. It's pretty easy, like, in my opinion.
I might be up to no good, but my scores are really good. Not this week, but my scores be good. My score is always up, and they good.
Not this. I'm a little different with Antron on a couple things. Well, just Anki really. But I'm gonna say like initially starting off med school, that was very tough, very difficult. I feel like time work balance then during that kind of first module was a little bit difficult. But I gotta say, like after the second module, when you get the hang of it, you get the gist of what the teachers are trying to ask you. It kind of goes all from there. I usually take my Wednesdays off. I'll usually stay at home and just chill. Kind of watch the lectures if I want to, but not really. But what I did do, and that's why I'm different with Antron here, is I started using Anki during my second module, and I felt like that was like a time saver for real. So definitely use it. I mean, it doesn't work for everyone. Like I agree. Some people just can't learn like that. But definitely look into Anki whenever you're kind of starting your med school journey, or even for your MCAT journey.
I'm with Antron. I think Anki's trash.
All right, I feel like we were supposed to be talking about school life balance, and now we're just arguing about Anki. So to bring us back to the subject matter that was originally initiated, um, I really enjoy the fact that I met like Remy, Claude, and Samir. I mean, Antron's cool too. I just don't get to hang out with him as much because he doesn't come to school and pay attention to lectures. He just stays home and glances over them because he's a genius. But like I'm one of those people like I need my brain. It's very hard for me to learn things just the way somebody else does it. Like I need to simulate it in my way. So I need to make like a chart or a table or like make out my notes so I can organize it in a way that I can read through it, think about it, and actually understand it. But that takes a lot of time, and I need people in my life who are willing to like help me through that. So, and a lot of times it's not about just how much you study. It's also like really important to take breaks and be a human being because you're in med school and you're learning. You're literally learning. I think how do I try it? Okay, so basically, in 3 months, you learn what you guys would learn in like 2 semesters. All right. So in the basically the first module we had, which was 2 months, we essentially went through my master's course of biology and biochemistry, which is a lot. So it's important to know that you need breaks as a human being. Because like the only reason I survived that's because I had Claude and Remy with me like every day studying, asking each other questions, and then the fact that they actually like pushed me to go to the gym a lot. So I was like, hey, you need fresh air, oxygen, and exercise because hey, you're gonna be a doctor, but you also need to you want to be a healthy doctor. All right. So it's about finding the people in your life who are going to keep you steady and help you keep your head above water. If you can do that, then I think you're going to be perfectly fine. No matter if you're barely coasting by like me or if you're sleeping through lectures and making A's like Samir. But it is what it is.
And now I'm going to ask the students that are on to ask questions, please.
Abraham and Raymond. There it is. I was about to say.
First off, before I ask, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys. This meeting's definitely been really beneficial, and it gives me like a lot of motivation and hope that I can get through. One big thing that I'm about to tackle is MCAT, and I have a quick question. So, what's like? I'm starting to study for the MCAT, but I'm also thinking to myself, like, am I starting to study for it the right way? I'm not sure if there's really a right or wrong way to study for the MCAT in the beginning, at least. But right now, I'm just doing like content review, looking through Kaplan books. Is that how y'all started, or did y'all do Ankis and things like that off the jump?
I can start off. When I was doing my MCAT review, I started off with content review as well. But I think and you can kind of find a whole bunch of schedules online. But I think it's important to like question yourself between those content reviews. Because you could read a whole paragraph on like amino acids, but are you really getting the high yield like points that they're trying to like point out? And the thing is with the MCAT, they're like really like systematic with their questions. their questions are really the same. They just ask it in like a different way, or they're looking for a different answer. So usually like what I would do, especially if you're starting content review, I would go through like that whole kind of like chapter. Usually it has practice questions at the end. I also found some practice questions online. And I would, typically go through the question, try and answer to the best of my ability, see the answer, but then I would also reword the question in a way where I would get the other answers. And that way, like, whenever I'm seeing another question similar to that on the MCAT, I'm like, oh, that answer makes sense in this case. So.
Are you, just out of curiosity, are you taking like a course?
So I'll be starting SEEP in about 2 weeks, the advanced program, and I believe that they'll be having a prep course as well. I'm not sure if it was Kaplan or Princeton though. It's one of the two.
It's Kaplan.
Kaplan, okay.
Yeah, I think those courses are really good. Like I took Princeton Review, and they just had a lot of practice material. But as far as like initially getting started, I just focused a lot more on like what you're doing now. Just I made a plan, like a schedule, and I was like, I'm gonna read, for this many hours, or like I'll read 2 to 3 chapters a day, and I stuck with that. Like no matter what, like you got to just stick with it, and then review. Like after the chapter, make sure you can like write it all down. Make sure like you understand the concepts. Like if you understand the concept, it will make your life a lot easier three months down the line when you're like taking practice tests and you're like, damn, like what was that one chapter on? And like, you don't want to start forgetting the things you learn. So make sure you just study in a way where later on you can help yourself out. Another thing that I found helpful for me personally, I don't know how other people did it, but I like made note of the chapters that I was weak on. And I wrote myself like questions or little facts. Like if I did questions and I missed it wrong, I always wrote that question down. And then like I just kept up with that. So literally like the 2 weeks before I took my MCAT, I had a whole list, like I had like a journal of just like questions that I just had missed, and like, explanations as to why I missed them. And like that, I think that was pretty high yield, to be honest, because later on when I, got to the exam, I know what my weaknesses are. I put the time into, really focus on that, and then it's going to translate when you get to the actual exam.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you what not to
Did
do.
you hear me? Oh, well, Sam,
You got it, people.
No, you got it.
As the king of the MCAT, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need to do. Okay. All right. So your question was how did we start studying? So that's gonna be different for everybody. The most important thing about the MCAT, like everybody said so far, you need to make note of what you're good at, and like make time for both, like content review and practice questions. Right. So for me, like I was a bio major. I loved biochem. I was great at it. That was always my highest section. Right. So I did content review stupidly. So it's because like and this is like this is me realizing after it didn't go well a couple times, right? So I'll do content review because that makes me feel good. I'm like, oh yeah, I know this. I know this about chemicals, blah blah blah. This reaction makes this. This is how bicarbonate gets excreted and synthesized, whatever, right? But I didn't make time to go through the stuff that I wasn't good at. It's like the psychology, sociology, any of that. So one thing, if you're doing like the review books, for instead of reading the chapters, go ahead and do the practice problems that are at the end first. All right, if you can score like an 80% on those questions, I would say lightly skim through the summary at the end of that chapter and move on to the next one. Don't waste your time reading 10 pages over a topic that you're good on, right? Because I mean, listen, if you do, great, but you don't have to make the 528 on the MCAT to get in. You break like 500, you're pretty much good. All right, so I'd say go ahead and do the practice questions at the end of each chapter. If you score 80%, move on to the next chapter. If you don't do well, then read that. All right. And then if you're like me, if you're good on the content, then I say focus on testing yourself on practice questions. right? Because if you're really good on the content, the practice questions won't be that hard and you can move on to another topic. But if you find that the practice questions are really tricky and when you read the explanation, it's because you didn't fully understand the concept, then that's when you go back and do like content review for that. So that way you maximize your time. Not only are you getting practice with MCAT style questions, which is really important because like Remy said, the way they ask you questions could be completely different from the passes that they asked you or that they presented to you. All right. So it's very important to make sure you're giving yourself adequate experience with those questions and then worry about content review for just topics that you don't really understand. And so fully, if there's, I know the AMC does like, they do free practice tests and you can even get like a free diagnostic test. So to tell you like which sections of the MCAT you're weakest in so you can know like where to focus. So I would really advise you to know your strong suits and know your weaknesses. And it's really important that if you're strong in like psychology, because I know you said you're a psych major. So if you're strong in like psychology and sociology stuff, and that's constantly your highest point, I'd say like if you're when you're making your schedule, you can kind of minimalize that amount of time you spend on that subject a little bit. And if you're weaker on like biochemistry, spend more time going through questions and content for that. So that way you kind of balance yourself out. So now you can take your psych social section is carrying you to like a 499 and you bring up your biochem, now you're at a 503 and you're good to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Are you in a Tesla? What is that?
No, it's my car.
All right. Hello? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I heard MCAS. All right, let me chime in on this too. So I think the first thing, there's no golden rule. There's no golden answer, no golden solution. I've heard it all. From the 528 to the 500 to the 496. And there's no formula. You can ask five different 528s, so 524s, and they'll all give you five different answers. But me going back and if I could do it all over again, I think my number one rule is yourself. You know how you study. You know your weak areas. You know your strong areas. And I would say don't try to do anything too fancy or too abnormal when it comes to this MCAT. Yes, it's a standardized exam, but I'm pretty sure AU pre-med courses are very rigorous, and I think they do a good job when it comes to preparing. So if you've been understanding the material, um, doing well, taking the typical pre-med load, you know the material. So my next thing I think is don't spend too much time on content. It's questions. Just to re-emphasize what Sam says, it's questions. The way you get points is you find weak areas. You want to know yourself to the point where you be like, okay, this is the material that I'm weak at, and I'm gonna hit the questions. But then I'm also gonna just sprinkle on these questions that I think I'm strong in, and that's when you'll start seeing which one is right and which one is wrong. Because where you get the points is your weak areas, and sometimes you're not fully aware until you start hitting the questions. Now you get to a question and you look at the answer and you look at your backup answer, and in both backup answers, that means there's a little content that you gotta fill in, that you need to brush over. That could be a quick 5 minutes looking at the pages. That could be like a quick YouTube, or that could be like I gotta read like 4 or 5 chapters to try to get the whole baseline so I can get the right answer. Because what I will tell you, if you know the material, I don't care how they twist up the question, you're gonna be able to get the answer. And I'll tell you, the MCAT are masterminds in asking you the same question in 10 different ways. You can take that exam 10 different times. They can ask you amino acids, and if you don't know those amino acids, it doesn't matter what you're gonna do, you're not gonna get it. So, but yeah. Then I think my last recommendation. These are very broad. I will say my last recommendation is stay with it. So I think that I also noticed a lot of the people I know who changed career paths or went to pharmacy schools, not enrolled in pharmacy school and stuff like that, but had to change careers because of this MCAT. Like it can hurt you. It like some people, hit it one time, do well, but the ones who got to repeat, or the ones that got a 4.0 then score like a 496 or something, and like you be like confused, like hold on a second, I'm a magna cum laude. What? How could I be? What's it called? Those things hurt though. So I will say, the MCAT really humbled me, as in like, okay, there's something that I'm not doing right, or there's something that I need to improve on. And when you start taking practice exams, or when it gets closer to the exams, that's when all that mental battle start kicking in. Like, oh dang, I'm not scoring where I need to be, or I'm not where I need. What's it called? I'm messing up on stupid questions. A lot of stuff start flying in your head, and for me, I'll say stay with it. You gonna have to you gonna get beat up a lot of times. You're gonna you're gonna just look at the questions like, oh my gosh, like this is not for me. But what I will say is just stay with it. Take some more time. If you make a 3 month schedule, by 3 months is not looking good, stretch it out to 6 months. Look at 6 months is not like where you need to be. You need to stretch out to a year. Now, I will say, like, when you're reassessing, each time you spread it out, you want to be able to, talk to the right people when tell it, you're letting them know about your score. Because if you're scoring a 515 and you say, oh, I need to score a 521, let me stretch out 6 more months. Then yeah, that's not what you need to be doing. But if you're scoring like a 489, and I think you at least got to be able to hit a 500. Then yeah, that means you're gonna have to stretch it out a little bit more. So yeah, I'm not gonna say you need a magic number. I'm not gonna put on it, but everybody knows that number. You know that number what you need to hit if you're gonna be a strong applicant. And if you have a little lower GPA, you gotta hit a little bit higher on the MCAT score to compensate. So, and that's just the math on how it plays out. But yeah, just it's gonna be a rough battle, but stay with it. When you make it to the other side, then you can tell your testimony about your what you had to go through and stuff like that. So that's all.
Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate it.
Does anyone else have a question?
I was just gonna ask, how early do you start studying? Because I'm still in my junior year. I still have a lot of courses to take. So I'm just like, should I start studying now or should I wait? I know I haven't taken some of the classes, but I have my LPN, so I have some background of some of the courses too. So I'm just asking, like, how early?
Wait, you said you have your LPN?
Yes, I do.
Sounds like it's
Sorry.
a career change.
I've had a lot of career changes. I did get
No,
my
that's fine.
LPN through the army actually, because I'm a reserve soldier right now, and my MOS. I did get my LPN through the army. So originally, I was a bio major and everything. So after getting my LPN, I was like, I might as well just do nursing since I can get any bachelor's and still go to med school. I'm still taking my pre-med courses and all that I need to get to med school, but I'm trying to major with my nursing school to also do well with that. So I'm trying to study like early or start like covering grounds from MCAT. So I'm not lacking on that because I have taken the NCLEX before. I know what that's about. But the MCAT is actually the one I'm going to focus on.
This sounds like a perfect question for Claude. One park ranger to another.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess also, going back, or if I could go back, I think that if you align your pre-med courses uh, with the Kaplan book or whatever series, to be honest, I think you could learn both at the same time. Because to be honest, you're learning the material. Let's just say you're in biochemistry. Then you have the biochemistry book. You divide how many questions they are within the semester, and make sure that you accomplish all the questions, because you will notice that in your course you're gonna either cover more than what's gonna be on the MCAT or less, meaning like it's tailored towards their particular curriculum. But it will save you so much time when it's time to relearn, because you're already seeing the style of how they're gonna ask it, and you're seeing the material that you haven't seen in your biochemistry. Like, okay, so we talk about phospholipids, and my teacher spent like 30 minutes on this, but you see MCAT talks about it more in depth. That means I'm gonna have to, compensate and just let me get the background enough to be able to answer a question. Now, if you're not in your pre-med courses, then that's a different statement. But I think that well, I think that if I could go back, I would definitely align my classes so it's not like I have to relearn physics. Like, I'm already doing physics questions while I'm taking physics. Yeah, the physics you got a written response, because I mean that's how my physics were. But if you could do that, it's easy to translate to just a B, C, and D, because you're doing the harder one, which is a written response. So um, then also I think is you having enough science background. I I mean, and that we can flip that. I think that MCAT is like, I will say, a lot of science heavy, but let's say cars. Like cars, you could be doing that without any. That's just like verbal. And I think that if you did want to start off, it will definitely be verbal, because you don't even need no background. Just start reading. But you will notice a lot of people struggles in cars. So the cars is a little tricky too, but I think that will get you started and get your schedule. So by the time you plan on applying, you already got to knock out cars. You already started seeing the real Kaplan style questions, and then when you really crank it up, and I'm saying like the summer prior to your due date. Let's just say you spend 2 months hardcore. You already took out, or you already completed the set one time. Because I know some people who went through the set twice, just going through the Kaplan set questions. So that's one way of going about it. Just so it's not like you're working 2 times. You basically just aligning that up with what you're covering at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, Kenneth definitely killed that question. Like he murdered it. And I'll just add my 2 cents in there. I said it really would depend on when you plan on taking the MCAT, as far as, because your question was when should you start studying and how much you should be studying. Do you know when you were looking at taking the MCAT?
I was gonna take it at my senior year.
Okay, and you're a junior right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, see, for you, the good thing is you already have a lot going for you. Your military experience, like I mentioned, that is huge for sure. Having that background already. That's as far as when to start studying with nursing school and everything else you have going on. Yes, I will have to agree with Kenneth on that. Maybe start doing a lot more reading on your free time, preparing for cars, because some of your sciences will transfer over. But then, like Brahmi mentioned before, there's all kind of study plans online. Definitely trying to get some kind of a study plan to give yourself a specific timeline. If you need 6 months, so you can know how to balance that out with. But just don't wait till like 3 months before. Don't make the same mistake I made. That's a whole different story. Yeah, don't wait till like a month or two before to start studying. Like to start like going in hard onto that. So get a plan, get a study plan once you get a date to know how long you need. That'll help you a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Anyone else in the chat? Hello, Ade.
I think I see Raymond in here. Raymond, come on, give me a question. I know you in here.
See the one biting his lip?
Hey, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I just want to say this has been a wonderful call so far, and I've learned a lot of information. And the one question I do have, I'll just give you a basis just to start off. So I'm going to be starting, I'm a freshman right now, and I'm going to be starting shadowing this summer, actually next month in the medical center. And I wanted to know how to make the most out of that experience. Like, what should I be looking for? And yeah.
Guess I could speak
Yeah,
on.
if you want the most, I'll go for it, Andrew.
What I should be looking for specifically, how to make, I guess, that the experience count, basically.
I think two things for me. One is, going there, just trying to figure out, like, is medicine for me? Like, actually going there with the mindset that you're trying to gain something out of it. Like, you want to know what doctors do. You want to know how it's like to work in a hospital, like genuinely be present there. And then keep up with those reflections, like write them down because you're going to need them when you're applying to medical school. Like there's a whole bunch of questions where they ask you to, like, maybe on your secondaries where they ask you, like, describe your clinical experience and how it's shaped your path to medicine. Like it's good to be able to fall back on those things. But the second thing, probably the most important thing, is, like, I would say make connections because, like, you know, one of the most impactful, people in my life uh, was a doctor that I pretty much ended up shadowing, while I was working. And I just pretty much walked up to his door and, gave him a spiel about who I was. And it turns out that this guy was an alumni of the Medical College of Georgia. And I didn't even know at the time, but he ended up being, like, I guess he was the chief of staff. Like, I didn't know that, but literally, like, taking that chance to talk to him changed my whole, like, life because, when it came for letters of rec, which is also something that's you're going to really need, letters of rec, um, you know, it was easy for him to just be like, hey, I select candidates, MDs, I hire them, I fire them. Like, I know what doctors you need to have to be successful. And like, this guy has that. I literally do that. So I would say to make the most out of it, keep those connections, be proactive, and like, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there because I think, like Sam said, like the worst you can get is a no. And you just build that confidence too by putting yourself out there. So
And I think another thing, kind of just to add on to Antron, is to like come prepared and like ready to like learn and ask questions. I had a really good mentor back in Macon. He was an orthopedic surgeon. He specialized in like hand surgery. I didn't take anatomy at all, so I was kind of confused. But literally, like whenever he cut into something, and I saw something abnormal like nerves or arteries, I was always like, what is that? And he'll explain it to me. Doctors love to teach. That's the best thing about shadowing. You're learning medicine, even though you're not in med school yet. But doctors love to teach, and just come with questions, ask anything. Don't feel embarrassed. They know you don't know anything. You're just an undergrad student. So just kind of come prepared. That's all. That would be my advice.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that.
Of course, Remy, I'm sure you can clarify this. When you say come prepared, it's not like spend a whole night studying or anything like that.
Yeah. Let me not say like
Yeah, you mean
learn
like
all of the
preparing
anatomy
questions?
of the arm. Just come like eager and like ready to learn something. What my kind of shadowing dude would do. He would send me his cases for the next morning. So usually I saw like a lot of carpal tunnel or like fractures. So I would just do like a brief like Google search, nothing like in depth. And I'll just like carpal tunnel, like what causes that, and I'll be like, oh, so like how can you prevent that to him, or a fracture, like why does it break in that manner? But I'm not saying like get an anatomy textbook and like learn that thing back to front and then like regurgitate it for them. Like, no, they don't expect you to do that. That's in medical school.
Mm-hmm.
One. Hold on, let me see. Just add one. Yeah, one more add on. It's just a reiteration to what both guys said, but especially what Antron said is, you want to make sure that you enjoy, shadowing, and the environment, and and asking just like generic questions uh, that be hard to ask if you never met that person. Like, what are your what is the typical shifts? How's the interaction? What is your scope? I mean, yeah, you could Google some, but hearing it from the mouth is why you're there. So I think that how many vacations you have, what's the future of this specialty looking like? Those gonna intrigue, like, oh, this guy's really asking us questions early. So yeah, and going off what Remy says, like, I try to get a good night's sleep every night, so I'm well awake, and like any small detail, anything they need assistance, I'm on it. um then if you have some downtime, looking at some stuff, you could, and seeing where you will be. Then you if some medical students come through wherever you're shouting at, you'll see what you'll be expected to do. So just observe the environment. I'm asked the doc if you could look at this. What does that mean? Those things, because I'm that recommendation at the end. If you really do impress, will stick out. Like, oh, this is a different student. Like, every day you came in, curious of X, Y, and Z. You don't even have to know it. Just just showing interest. And then yeah, also learning, like, okay, he explained this. Then you took your time out to learn X, that, but not that too advanced. But and I think, like, you'll go with the flow. There's really no textbook like key way to shadow, because all our experiences are definitely different. But they know a person who's doing it for a check, like to check off a box, versus someone who's really intrigued about this art. So
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any burning questions? We are past an hour. Time flies when you're having fun, but I extended it just so that we wouldn't be pushed out if anyone has any other questions. So feel free to ask away. But if no one else has any questions, I want to ask our panelists, do you have anything else that you want to say to our students?
Yeah, I just want to say that, well, first of all, thank you guys for coming out too. Like, you guys being here already shows that you're proactive, and, you're taking advantage of the opportunities that, you see that are going to push you towards the future you want to secure. But also, like, you guys, you guys are going to make it. Like, I think it's important to just have that confidence. Like, we all had those doubts. Like, I remember my freshman year, sophomore year, just thinking, like, is medicine even for me? Like, just am I going to be able to score well on the MCAT? Like, but at the end of the day, like, if you want to make it there and you really are passionate about it, things will fall in place. Just make sure that you take the steps, continue building, the path to securing the spot you want. The spot is out there. You can make it into medical school. It's something that's really possible. And, I don't have a doubt that any of you guys won't be my future colleagues. So that's all I wanted to say.
I guess this is my last thing. First, reiterating what Antron said. Appreciate everybody for coming out here. Spaces like this is something I wished I knew about, or was invented during my pre-med time period or even my undergrad. Like AU got it all. Like we're given every angle, like leverage when it comes to applying. So definitely utilize, capitalize anytime you see something pre-med, what's it called, insight, speaking from experience, stuff like that. Be on it. And the ones that are here today shows that you're capitalizing, I mean, on a Friday, and that just shows that you really want this. Two, I think I'll say stay with it. Everybody's journey is different. Yeah, everybody's journey is different, and even if you don't get in right after undergrad, it's not over yet. So stay with it. We're here. You can reach out to us. And if you have any, I would say any feedback on, how to, make our panel more interactive, and AA will elaborate more on that. But I just definitely want to see what we could do to improve for the next one.
Yes, I will.
I guess, oh, my bad, AA. You're good. Just a last little piece of advice, and this is like a plug for AA as well, but just kind of utilize this MCAT outreach program. I never had anything like this during my undergrad time, and that's since y'all have the opportunity of using this, I would say definitely try to utilize it as much as you can. We're just looking for y'all to do the best on the MCAT as possible and get you into med school, so you can become great doctors.
I was just going to say that I will follow up with this panel with a Google form so that we can get that feedback. If this goes well, this went well, but if feedback shows that this was helpful, which I'm sure it was, we would like to do some more follow-up with this. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you so much again for coming on a Friday night after finals. You guys are awesome. And thank you to our panelists for taking the time after that quiz especially to speak. And if you wouldn't mind putting your email in the chat, if you don't mind students reaching out, that'd be awesome.
All right, take it easy, guys. Once again, thanks for coming out.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good one, guys. Best of luck on your journey.
Night, guys.
Thank you.